workshops globally, hosted 30 webinars exclusively in Thai. Today, we have more than 5,000 active Quvae members from various countries. We partner with top universities, research institutions, and academic bodies to support our mission. Quvae webinars and workshops, an engaging learning platform. We cover topics like research writing and journal selection, with international experts offering valuable insights. Our workshops are tailored to meet the academic needs of different regions. Webinars in Thailand, tailored for the Thai academic community, covering topics like manuscript writing and publication strategies, with a strong member base fostering collaboration. Our vision is to support researchers in achieving excellence, bridging gaps in the publication process and quality services, and fostering a global academic community of collaboration. Get in touch with Curie for proofreading, editing, and Scopus journal support. Follow us for updates on webinars and workshops. Visit our website or contact us for more information. Thank you for watching.
Greetings to all the participants present here. On behalf of QA Research and Publications, I would like to welcome you all for the workshop on hands-on survival analysis exploring time-to-time event data with SPSS. To start with, let me give you a brief introduction about QA Research and Publications. QA serves as a platform to publish research articles in prominent journals and conferences proceedings. We assist authors in publishing their research findings in high impact factor journals, promoting their work, enhancing their reputation, and building a strong scientific profile. Among several indexing databases, Scopus is one of the most preferred for publishing articles. The wide recognition and impact of these journals make them highly valued in their academic careers. We have recently collaborated with the Scopus Q1 journal, FN1000 Research, published by Taylor and Francis. The authors can now easily submit their articles through a partnered gateway with FN1000. FN1000 Research is an open research publishing platform for scientists, scholars, and clinicians that offers rapid publication of articles and other research outputs without editorial bias. All articles benefits from transparent peer review and editorial guidance on making all source data openly available. Now we would like to welcome a speaker, Ms. Nurul Jannah Noor Hasmi, who is a passionate statistician, educator, and senior lecturer at Mahasa University, Malaysia, with over a decade of expertise in research methodology and biostatistics. She teaches undergraduate and postgraduate dental students primarily using SPSS, and her expertise extends to advanced statistical tools such as Stata, R, and NYO, with a strong focus on both quantitative and qualitative research methods. A groundbreaking contribution to research data management includes introducing the Research Electronic Data Capture REDCap system at the University of Malaya in 2015, revolutionizing how multidisciplinary research is conducted and enhancing data quality of high impact studies. Ms. Nurul Jannah has been recognized internationally and invited to lead workshops on SPSS and research methods, where she guides participants in bridging theoretical concepts with hand on publication. In addition to her teaching and mentorship, she has contributed to impactful publications across diverse research areas in biostatistics, dental research, and public health, including all collaborations with global institutions. Once again, we welcome you, Doctor. You may start the workshop now.
Thank you, Shalini, for the introduction. Am I audible?
Yes, Doctor.
Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. My name is Jannah. I'm a senior lecturer in research methodology and also biostatistics from Masa University, Malaysia. I teach undergraduate and also postgraduate dental students in research methodology and also biostatistics. Today's session is about survival analysis, exploring time to event data with SPSS. So this is hands-on session by using SPSS. So if you have got SPSS installed in your laptop, please do it together with me, because statistical analysis is all about practicing and also hands-on. All right, so I already shared two data set, Kleppel-Meyer and also recovery will be used for the today's session. All right, so I hope you have two data set with you that we are going to use later. So here is a quick overview what we are going to cover today. So firstly, I'm going to introduce you to survival analysis, where I'm going to explain about the key concept that we always find when we do survival analysis. Next, we are going to go to Kaplan-Meier survival analysis by using SPSS. So at this stage, we are going to use the Kaplan-Meier data set. And then next, we are going to go to Cox proportional hazard regression by using SPSS. So if you have SPSS, please do it together with me. If you have any question, you can private message me. All right. Okay, so what is survival analysis? Survival analysis is actually a statistical method used to analyze the time until an event of interest occurs. For example, death, relapse, recovery, failure, and so on. So unlike any other statistical method, survival analysis can handle censored data. So this what survival analysis different than any other analysis. All right. So before we go further details into survival analysis, before we go to Kaplan-Meier and also Cox proportional hazard regression, I will explain to you about the common key concept that we always find when we do survival analysis. For example, event, survival time, censoring, survival function, and also hazard function. So the most important term that you need to understand is event. Event is the outcome that we are measuring. For example, relapse, failure, or death. So in another word, for example, in other type of statistical analysis, we use the word dependent variable. But in survival analysis, we use the word event, the outcome that we are measuring. Okay, survival time or time to event, okay, is actually the duration from the starting point of the study to the occurrence of a specific event. It is a primary outcome in survival analysis. Event is something that we are interested in, for example, failure, death, or relapse. As you can see here, based on this timeline, okay, so this is the starting point of the study. This is the end of the study. So in this study, the event is death. Okay, the event is death. So from the starting point of the study until the event occurrence, we call it time to event. Okay, example of event in research is time to death after diagnosis or surgery, time to cancer relapse, time to smoking relapse, and so on. So when we do a research study, when we do a research project, okay, that related to the survival analysis, not all participants will experience this kind of event during the study period. So this we call it censoring. Okay, this we call it censoring. So censoring occurs when the exact time of the event or of interest is not observed by some subjects in the study. So we have two types of censoring, right censoring and also left censoring. So censoring is also the most common, is the most important thing that you have to understand when you do survival analysis. So this is what makes survival analysis different than any other statistical analysis. Okay, the most common censoring is the right censoring. Okay, right censoring means that the event hasn't occurred by the end of observation. Okay, but we know that the individual survived up to a certain time. For example, a subject leave the study early, drop out, the event has not occurred by the study end, or the subject is lost to follow up. Okay, for example, look at this timeline. Okay, so this is the starting point of the project and this is the end of the study. So the event, for example, like say the participant decided to leave the study early, but the event not observed. So that one, we call it censored or censoring. Okay, left censoring, the event has already occurred before observation started. But the thing is, the exact time is unknown. So we are not sure when it started. For example, patient already had a disease before entering the study. But the thing is, we don't know when the patient had the disease because it's already happened before they entered the study. So this is the difference between left censoring and also right censoring. Okay, let's see the comparison between right censoring and also left censoring. So this is a right censored. This is a left censored. So right censoring means that the event has not occurred by the end of the observation. And then left censoring is already happened before the participant entered the study. But the most common of the censoring is the right censoring. Okay, next one is a survival function. Survival function is about probability. It's a probability of an individual survive past a certain time point without experiencing the event of interest. So the individual did not experience the event of interest. So we call it survival function. Okay, ST is the probability of surviving longer than time. And then T is the time to event. Okay, I'm going to describe by using this survival function plot. So this is the plot of probability of survival and also time. So this curve actually illustrates the probability of survival over time. So you can see the probability of survival gradually decrease over time. All right, for example, so we want to know what is the probability of the patient still alive at a particular time. At year 0, this is the event, this is the study just started. At year 0, in the beginning, 100% alive. Second year, about 82% of the patients alive. And then at the 5th year, about 40% of the patients alive. So this, we call it survival function. Next one is hazard function. Hazard function is different than survival function. Hazard function is actually about rate. It's about risk. The rate at which subjects are experiencing the event at a particular time, given they have not yet experienced it. For example, okay, what is the risk that a patient dies at this moment in time, given they have survived until now? So this is what survival analysis is all about. So later on, when we go further detail into survival analysis, we are going to see more about hazard function or hazard ratio. Okay, now we are going to move to Kaplan-Meier survival analysis. I'm pretty sure all of you must have heard about Kaplan-Meier survival analysis before. This is actually a non-parametric technique. So we use survival analysis to estimate the probability of surviving beyond specific time point. So usually we use Kaplan-Meier survival analysis for descriptive statistic part. So we are going to plot, usually in Kaplan-Meier survival analysis, SPSS will come up with a plot of the Kaplan-Meier. So it provides a stepwise survival curve. And then we can see the survival probabilities over time. And also we can compare the difference between the treatment groups. All right, so we are going to do the hands-on. So open dataset Kaplan-Meier. So by you doing this hands-on, you can see what is Kaplan-Meier is all about. So please open dataset Kaplan-Meier. I hope all of you have the dataset with you. Okay, this is a Kaplan-Meier dataset, a very simple dataset. We have 10 cases altogether. As you can see, we have 3 variables. ID is not variable, so it's just the number of the case. And then we have time, we have status, died, alive, or censored. So the event here is died. And then we have group drug A and also drug B. Okay, so let's look at our objective. So our objective in this stage is to estimate the survival time of patients after diagnosis. So it means that we are going to use variable time and also status to come up with the Kaplan-Meier. We are going to run Kaplan-Meier in SPSS. Okay, to do this, go to Analyze, and then go to Survival, and then go to Kaplan-Meier. Okay, here we have time and also status. Enter time to event into time. Enter status into status. So after that, click define event. Okay, this one, we have to put in the value. We have to put in value of the event. So this can be taken from the variable view from the SPSS. So our event here is from status. Okay, look at status, go to the values, and the event is die, and then the value is 1. So we have to put in the value 1 for the event. Survival, Kaplan-Meier, time to event to time, status to status, define event, enter 1 in the single value, and then click continue. And then go to options. Under plots, select survival. And then make sure you have selected survival table and also mean and median survival as well. And then click continue. And then we can click OK. So once you click OK, we can see we have another window display. I hope all of you already familiar with SPSS, so I don't have to explain the details about how SPSS works, all right? Because survival analysis, we can see it is actually a bit advanced analysis compared to any other analysis. So as you can see here, we have case processing summary. Case processing summary is just a descriptive table that describing how many cases we have, how many events, how many censored data. We have 6 events, we have 4 censored data, and then we have survival table. Okay, we have survival table. For example here, at time 3, the estimated cumulative survival probability is 0.9 or 90%. Okay, at time 9, as you can see here, we have died and also alive or censored. So for the cumulative survival probability, SPSS won't calculate censored data. For example, at the time 9, survival probability dropped to 0.45. So survival probability always drop. And then we have mean and also median survival time. So the first column that we have here is the median, this is the mean for the survival time, which is 8.1. And then we have median survival time, which is 9. If you want to report your mean and median survival time, you can take this value, estimate, and also the confidence interval for the median and also mean. For example, here the median survival time is 9 years. Okay, next one, we have survival function plot. This is the Kaplan-Meier plot. Cumulative survival versus time to event. As you can see, we have a stepwise curve. As you can see, the survival gradually decrease over time. Okay, so this plot is actually the values is actually taken from the cumulative survival probability or estimate from the survival table. So the stepwise here is the cumulative survival probability. Okay, this is actually the censored data. And then this is the median survival time, which is 9 years. Okay, so if you want to report Kaplan-Meier, so you can just copy this plot and then you can describe, and then this median and mean and also median for survival time is also important. So you can report the mean and confidence interval, median and also confidence interval. Okay, the next one is about log rank test. Log rank test is actually the continuous from the Kaplan-Meier test. So the only difference with the common Kaplan-Meier test is that log rank test compares the survival distribution of two or more groups. Okay, for example, we want to compare drug A versus drug B. So log rank test is actually a part of Kaplan-Meier test. For example, if you look at our data set, we have one more variable, which is group drug A and also drug B. So let's say if you want to compare between drug A and also drug B. So in this case, we can use log rank test. So the purpose of using log rank test is we want to see whether there is a statistically significant difference in survival between groups over time. Okay, now we are going to use the same data set, Kaplan-Meier data set. Okay, we are going to use this one. So here our research objective is we want to compare the survival time of patients between group A and also group B. So here when we want to do comparison like this, we will involve the hypothesis. There is no difference in survival time between patient receiving drug A and also drug B. Alternative, there is a difference in survival time between patient receiving drug A and also drug B. So now we are going to run log rank test because we want to compare drug A versus drug B. So to do this, can go to analyze and then go to survival and then go to Kaplan-Meier. So just now we already entered time to event and also status. And then please make sure you enter the value for the event, which is 1 in this case. And then here we are going to compare between the groups, drug A and also drug B. So enter treatment group into factor. Okay, enter treatment group into factor. And then go to compare factor on the right side. And then select log rank. Select log rank. So here we have pool over strata. So we look at our group just now, drug A and also drug B. So we have two levels. We have two groups, drug A and also drug B. So it means that we have to select pool over strata. But if you have more than 2 levels, you have 3 levels. For example, you have drug A, drug B, and also drug B, C. So we have 3 levels, right? So in that case, you have to select pairwise over strata. But in this case, we have 2 levels only. So just select pool over strata and then click continue and then click OK. So here, SPSS output divided the output into drug A and also drug B. For example, we have 5 cases in drug A, 5 cases drug B, and then we have 3 events, drug A, 3 events, drug B. And then under survival table also, SPSS split the outcome between drug A and also drug B. We have mean and median survival time for drug A and also drug B. And then we have the log rank test. Okay, this is the log rank test that we are going to interpret later. And then this is the Kaplan-Meier plot comparing to see the survival over time. So the survival also gradually decrease over time. So here we have the blue curve is drug A, and then the red curve is drug B. So this is the censored data, right? So both drugs shows declining survival probabilities over time. So look at the log rank test. This is the log rank test. This is the p-value. Okay, this is the p-value. So the p-value for the log rank test. So the p-value here is more than 0.05. So it is not significant. So it means that we fail to reject the null hypothesis. So how to interpret this? We can compare with our original hypothesis. If we fail to reject the null hypothesis, means that we accept null hypothesis, right? So it means that there is no significant difference in survival time between patients receiving drug A and also drug B. Okay, so this one is log rank test. So there is no statistically significant difference in survival between the two treatment group, drug A and also drug B. Okay, so what happened if we have multiple factors in our data set that we believe might be affecting the survival? For example, variable age, we have gender, we have treatment type, disease stage, we have, for example, marital status, education level, and so on. So what if we have more than one factor? So in that case, we have to use cost proportional hazards regression. So cost proportional hazard regression is used in survival analysis to examine the relationship between time to event and also one or more predictor variables. So remember, cost proportional hazard regression always dealing with time to event and one or more predictor variables. So predictor variable, we also call it as covariate. Predictor variable can be continuous or numerical variable. It can be categorical. It can be combination between continuous and categorical. It can be continuous only. It can be categorical only. So it doesn't matter. So when we talk about cost proportional hazard regression, the key assumption in this analysis is proportional hazard. Okay, proportional hazard. So it means that the hazard ratio between groups remains constant over time. Okay, this is what we want to see later on. This is the key assumption when we talk about cost proportional hazards regression. Cost proportional hazard regression dealing with time to event data, one or more predictor variable that consists of continuous and it can be categorical, continuous and or all categorical variable. And the key assumption is proportional hazards assumption. So we are going to cover about proportional hazards assumption later on. But the thing is, SPSS actually has limitation in terms of performing survival analysis by using SPSS. All right, so we can only check certain things in SPSS, but if your study, if your data set involve a lot of data, many variable, I would like to suggest maybe you can use another type of software to run survival analysis, for example, Stata or R. All right. Okay, the goal of cost proportional hazard regression is the first one. We want to generate a model. We want to come up with an equation that estimates how different factors influence the hazard rate over time. And then we want the model helps in predicting time to event. And then we can also include censored cases in the analysis. This is the cost proportional hazard regression model. So HT here is the hazard function. This is the baseline hazard function, okay, exponential. So B1, B2, B3 until Bn is the regression coefficient. Regression coefficient for each predictor variable. Prognosis S1 until Sn is actually the predictor variable. For example, let's say if you have a variable age, right? You have variable age and also gender. You only have two significant predictor variables. So it means that the equation will stop until B2 S2. So it depends on how many significant predictor variables that you have. Okay, when we're dealing with cost regression, we're dealing with hazard ratio. So hazard ratio coming from survival function. All right, hazard ratio is a measure used to compare the hazard or risk of an event occurring at any given point in time between two groups. When we do survival analysis, we're going to see the hazard ratio. We want to see the hazard or risk. If the value of the hazard ratio is 1, so it means that there is no difference in hazard between the groups. If the value is more than 1, so it means that there is a higher hazard in the group of interest. For example, let's say for variable gender, we have male and also female. Male and also female. And then male is the group of interest. So it means that if the hazard ratio is more than 1, so it means that the higher hazard is higher in male compared to female. If the hazard ratio less than 1, so it means that lower hazard in the group of interest. For example, gender is now male and female. So male will have lower hazard compared to female. So I'm going to explain this further later on during the result presentation where we do the analysis. Okay, here is the list of steps in cost proportional hazard regression. We have 6 steps altogether. It's similar with multiple linear regression, multiple logistic regression, and so on. They have 6 steps. We always start with data exploration and cleaning, followed by simple cost proportional hazard regression, and then we proceed to multiple cost proportional hazard regression based on the variable that we selected from the simple cost proportional hazard regression. So once we have done a variable selection by using forward method and also backward method, we are going to check for interaction and also multi-covariety, whether there are any interaction and also multi-covariety exists in this data set. And then we are going to check model assumption to see whether the model that we come up with can predict the event. So when we talk about model, so it means that this model, okay, cost regression model. And the last one, we are ready to interpret the result and also do result presentation. Okay, now I want you to open dataset recovery. Okay, please open dataset recovery. You can close down Capital Maya dataset. Okay, so this is a recovery dataset. We have 5 variables altogether. Okay, ID is not the variable, so it's just the number of the cases. The numbering, we have 60 cases altogether. We have time, we have status, recovered and not recovered or censored. So here in this case, the event is recovery. We have age, gender, male, female, and then smoking status, yes and also no. So here, our research objective is to determine whether age, gender, and smoking status are associated with time to recovery among patients after a surgery. Okay. after a surgery. So here we want to apply these three variables into the analysis. Here we have, okay, as you can see, age is continuous variable, gender and smoking are categorical variable. Okay, first we are going to start with data exploration and cleaning. Data exploration and cleaning is very important in every type of analysis. The reason we do this step is because we want to explore the data. We want to check whether there are any errors in the data, whether there are any outliers in the data. We want to do data cleaning because we don't want to analyze data with mistakes, data with errors. So that's why we have to start exploring our data and then see whether there are any errors in our data set. So for this step, we are going to run descriptive statistics for categorical and also numerical variable. Okay, first, what we're going to do is go to Analyze and then go to Descriptive Statistics and then go to Frequencies. Okay, this one is for categorical data. So for categorical data, you can always select frequencies. And then you can enter any variables that you are interested in. Okay, so in this case, I want to see status of recovery, gender, and also smoking. So these three variables are categorical variable. Okay, these three variables are categorical variable. And then click OK. Okay, here we have a statistics table. So statistic table, it just gives you the overview of our data. We have three variables, so no missing data. If there is any missing data in the data set, SPSS will mention how many missing. If there is a missing data, I would like for you to suggest go back to your data set and see whether the missing data is actually true missing or not. Because sometimes when we do data entry, sometimes we make a mistake. So that's why we have to do this stage because we want to check whether there are any errors in the data set. And then look at the status of recovery. We have 28 as not recovered or censored data. We have 32 recovered. We have 30 female, 30 male, and then we have 37 not smoking, 61.7%, and then 23 smoke, which is 38.3%. When we're dealing with categorical data, we are always interested to see frequency and also percentage. All right. So next one is we are going to run descriptive statistics for numerical variable. So this stage is actually very important when you want to report the socio-demographic. We want to prepare the socio-demographic table. Okay, so you can use this step. Go to Analyze and then go to Descriptive. Okay, for numerical variable, you can choose either descriptive or explore. If you want to see mean, standard deviation, minimum, maximum number, that's all, you can choose descriptive. But if you want to know more details, for example, median, interquartile range, confidence interval, then you can select explore. But in this case, I just want to select descriptive because I'm only interested to see the mean and standard deviation. So what you can do is you can just select descriptive and then you can select any numerical variables that you are interested in. Why I said any? Because when we are dealing with real data set, you probably have a lot of variables, right? So sometimes you only need certain variable to be included in the analysis. So you can select certain variables that you are interested in. For example, here we only have a few variables. So here I'm going to choose time to recovery and also years. or age. And then click OK. Here we have descriptive statistics table. So N is frequency. We have 60 data under time to recovery. We have 60 under age, so no missing data. We have minimum value, maximum value, the mean, and also standard deviation. So when you want to report this data, you want to report this result, then you can select mean and also standard deviation. So you can prepare nice table. For categorical variable, you are always interested with frequency and percentage. For numerical variable, we are always interested with mean and standard deviation. And please keep in mind that you cannot copy the table that you see in your SPSS and then put in your manuscript or your thesis or your report. You have to prepare the separate table for this. All right, but here I didn't, okay, but here, if you want to report the descriptive statistic for categorical and also numerical variable, so I would like to suggest for you to prepare a nice table and then put in categorical variable, frequency and percentage, numerical variable, mean, and also standard deviation. So no need to extract everything that you see in SPSS because we don't need all the information that we see here. We just need certain information. Okay, next one, step number 2, the simple cost regression analysis. Okay, simple cost regression analysis, similar with simple linear regression, similar with simple logistic regression. We have to run simple cost regression analysis for each independent variable that we have selected. So in this case, we have age, gender, and also smoking. Age, gender, and smoking. So once we run, okay, the analysis separately, look at the p-value. If the p-value is less than 0.25 and or all clinically important, then you can select that variable to be added to the next step of analysis. So why we use the cutoff point 0.25 at this stage? This is always the common question that I always receive from the participant previously. The reason we use this cutoff point is because this is the initial stage of cost regression analysis. And then we want to provide relapse threshold. Okay, we want to provide relapse threshold by allowing more variables to be added to the next stage of analysis. Okay, so if you use 0.25, then we can add more variables to be added into the next stage of analysis. And please keep in mind that the data that I use right now is a very simple data. It's a very simple data set. So when you are dealing with a real data set, you will get many things. You will see many different things that you see in this lecture. All right. So now we are going to run a simple analysis, a simple cost regression analysis. All right. So to do this, go to Analyze, and then go to Survival, and then select Cost Regression. So now we are doing simple cost regression for each independent variable. So first we are going to do for variable age. Okay, simple cost regression for variable age. So here we have time and also status. Enter time to recovery into time, and then status into status, and then click define event. So here you have to know what is the value of the event has occurred. If you're not sure, what you can do is you can go to variable view. You can go to variable view and then go to status and then look at the values. In this case, the event is recovered. The value is 1. So we have to enter 1 in the single value box. enter time to recovery to time, enter status of recovery to status, and then click define events, and then enter 1, and then click continue, and then you can enter variable age into covariates. Okay, we are going to test for variable age, and then on the right side, go to options, and then select confidence interval. The CI is confidence interval, exponential B is the hazard ratio, and then click continue, and then we can click OK. Okay, so once you click OK, we can see many tables here. We have case processing summary that describing the details of the data. We have 32 event, 28 censored data. We don't have any missing values. Okay, we have omnibus test of model coefficient. So this one is to test the overall model significance. But the most important table is the variables in the equation table. So this one you have to know. So here, this is the simple cost regression table for variable age. B here is a regression coefficient. B here is a regression coefficient. Okay, let's look at the model just now. Okay, it's the B1. B1, the value for the B1, the value for the B can be taken from B, the regression coefficient from variables in the equation. Okay, this is the p-value. Okay, this is the p-value. This is the exponential B is the hazard ratio. And this is the 95% confidence interval for the hazard ratio. As you can see here, the p-value here is significant because it is less than 0.05. And then the hazard ratio is 0.856. And please keep in mind that hazard ratio can only be interpreted if the p-value here is significant. Okay, so how to interpret this table? So here you can see regression coefficient is negative, right? So hazard ratio is 0.856, which is less than 1. Okay, which is less than 1. So remember, look at the hazard ratio interpretation. HR less than 1, it means that lower hazard in the group of interest. Okay. So let's interpret this. For every 1 year increase in age, the hazard of recovery decreases by 14.4%. Why decreases? We look at our hazard ratio. The hazard ratio is less than 1. So why 14.4%? Okay, we divide 1. Okay, 1 minus 0.856, and then we get 0.144, and then we change to percentage, and then we get 14.4%. So this is how we get 14.4%. Okay, let's look at the chat for a while. Okay. All right, so, okay, look at this table. So this suggests that older patients take longer to recover compared to younger ones. All right, so this is how we interpret the variable age. So I hope by now all of you have the data set with you. Okay, if you don't have data set, so later on maybe you can try by yourself, because I put everything in the lecture note already, step by step, how to do everything. All right, so now we are going to do a simple cost regression for variable gender. So now we have done for variable age. Age is found to be significant. Okay, to do this, go back to analyze, survival, and then go to cost regression. Remove age from block 1 of 1 and then enter gender. Enter gender and then make sure you put in the defined event. Okay, since gender is categorical variable, so you have to go to categorical on the right side, enter gender into categorical covariates, and then you can see we have a reference category, first and also last. Okay, this is depends on you. So under gender, we have female and also male. Female and also male. So we have put in, okay, for example, look at gender, 0 female, so 1 male. If you select first as the reference category, so it means that you ask SPSS to do the analysis by comparing male to female. If you select last, it means that you ask SPSS to do the analysis by comparing female to male. So in this case, we select first because we want to ask SPSS to compare male to female. So female equal to 0 becomes the reference group. And then, so once we select first, so this one is automatically done in SPSS, and then click continue. And then go to options, make sure you have selected confidence interval for a hazard ratio, and then click continue, and then click OK. Okay, so remember, so now we assign female as the reference group. Okay, look at variables in the equation. So this is the most important table in simple cost regression or in cost regression analysis. So the regression coefficient here is 2.340 and then for 3, and then it's also positive. The p-value here is significant. Hazard ratio is 10.410, and then we have the confidence interval. And then please keep in mind, I repeat again, hazard ratio can only be interpreted if the p-value is significant. So let's see how to interpret this. So males had a 10.4 times higher hazard of recovery compared to females. So see how we do the interpretation, because we are comparing male to female. Male is our group of interest. Okay, male is our group of interest. That's why we mention higher hazard of recovery. So we look at the interpretation for the HR here. HR equals more than 1, so mean higher hazard in the group of interest. Okay, so this is how we interpret the result for the gender. So now we are going to do simple cost regression for smoking. Okay, so you can go to analyze, survival, or the shortcut, you can just go under view. Under view, there is a button. There is a button. Recall recently used dialog. So you can just select and then you go to cost regression. The shortcut way. Okay, remove gender from block 1 of 1 and then enter smoking into block 1 of 1. And then, since smoking is also a categorical variable, so go to categorical and then enter smoking into categorical covariates, and then make sure you select first. So this one is up to you. You can use last if you want to. You can use first if you want to. So it depends how you want to interpret letter. So here I want to maintain first. So it means that smoking equals 0 becomes the reference group. So I ask SPSS to do the analysis by comparing those who are smoking, those who smoke, compared to those who do not smoke. And then click continue, and then click OK. Okay, so remember the most important table is the variables in the equation table. So here the regression coefficient is 2.192 is positive. P-value is significant. Hazard ratio is 8.955. So how to interpret? Smokers had 8.96 times higher hazard of recovery compared to non-smokers. Okay, so now we are going to compile what we have done in simple chords regression. You can do the compilation like this. You can present the simple chords regression result in a table nicely like this. Okay, we have to put in variable, regression coefficient, B, crude hazard ratio, wall statistic, and also the p-value. So remember, you cannot copy the table from SPSS. It is recommended, highly recommended to prepare the table like this. So remember, in the beginning, I mentioned to you that we have to screen for variables that have p-value less than 0.25 so that we can add these variables into the next stage of analysis. As you can see here, all the p-values, okay, all the p-values are more than 0.25, right? So it means that we are going to add all these three variables into the next step of analysis. Let's say, for example, the p-value for the smoking status is 0.57. It is more than 0.25. So it means that you have to exclude this variable from the next step of analysis. But in this case, all p-values are less than 0.25. So we are going to include these three variables into the next step of analysis. Okay, the next step of analysis is multiple cost proportional hazard regression, or we call it variable selection. So from the univariable analysis, from the cost proportional hazard regression analysis, we have selected variable age, gender, and also smoking. So please keep in mind that this is actually a mistake. So you can just erase the second sentences here. Perform multiple logistic regression. So this one is actually for cost proportional hazard regression. So in this method, in this stage, we are going to do variable selection by using methods such as forward likelihood ratio, LR, and then backward likelihood ratio, LR. So we are going to do these two methods separately, and then after that we have to compare which one better. Okay, forward likelihood ratio means that in the beginning, SPSS will start with no predictors added into the model. So after that, SPSS will add the most important significant variable into the model one by one. And then for the backward likelihood ratio, in the beginning, SPSS will add all predictor variables into the model, and then after that, SPSS will remove the unimportant variable from the model one by one. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to do this analysis. Okay, the first one, we are going to use forward likelihood ratio or forward LR. So this can be done by, okay, you can go to analyze, can go to survival, and then cost regression. Okay, now we are going to add all the three predictor variables that we have selected from the previous step into this analysis. So we have age, gender, and also smoking. So enter these three variables into block 1 of 1. Okay, block 1 of 1. So since smoking and gender are categorical variable, so go to categorical and then make sure you select gender and smoking into categorical covariates and then assign the reference category first. Okay, and then click continue and then click go back. Go back to cost regression. So now we are doing forward LR. Okay, now look at method. Enter, select forward LR method. And then click OK. Okay, here, look at forward LR table, which is variables in the equation. Variables in the equation table. So in the beginning, SPSS added smoking. In step 1, SPSS added smoking. The most important significant variable, it is significant. And then in step number 2, SPSS added one more variable, which is gender. And it is significant. As you can see here, age actually removed from the analysis. So from forward LR method, smoking and gender found to be the significant predictors. Age was removed from the analysis. Okay, now we are going to check the backward elimination error, whether this method is going to have the same thing as forward LR or not. Okay, go back to cost regression. So remember, this is the alternative method, alternative way. Okay, so go to cost regression. So go to method, change forward LR to backward LR. And then click OK. And then click OK. So go to variables in the equation. So look at step 1. In the beginning, SPSS added all the predictor variables, smoking, years, and gender. So in step number 2, SPSS removed the unimportant variable from the analysis. So SPSS removed age. So from backward elimination, smoking and also gender are also found to be the significant predictor, similar with forward LR. After that, we are going to compare forward and also backward result. As you can see, forward and also backward LR reveal the same result, where smoking and gender found to be the significant predictors, and then all variables have p-value less than 0.05, and then the variable age was removed from the model. All right. Okay, so now, since we already have the significant predictor variable, we are going to run the final model. So go back to cost regression. Here, and then you can remove age from the analysis because age is no longer significant predictor variable. And then in the method section, select enter and then click OK. So this is our final model. As you can see here, all the p-values are less than 0.05. So how to do the interpretation for the smokers? Remember, we compare smokers versus non-smokers. Smokers had 5.29 times higher hazard of recovery compared to non-smokers. Why higher hazard? Because the hazard ratio is more than 1. Males had a 6.77 times higher hazard of recovery compared to females. Okay, now we already have the preliminary model. Now we are going to check for multi-collinearity and also interaction term. Okay, multi-corollary and also interaction term can only be checked if we have more than one significant variable from the previous analysis. So now we have two significant predictor variables, smoking and also gender. So it means that we have to check for multi-corollary and also interaction term. Okay, what is multi-corollary? Multi-corollary should be checked to assess which variable correlate highly. So in this stage, we have to make sure we have two or more significant independent variable. We have to check by using correlation estimates and also standard errors. Okay, firstly, I'm going to show you how to check multi-corollary by using correlation estimates. To do this, go to cost regression. Go to cost regression and then go to options on the right side and then select correlation of estimates. Select correlation of estimates. And then click continue. Make sure you only have smoking and gender in the box and then make sure the method is enter. You can only change the method to forward LR, backward LR during the third step, which is the multiple cost proportional regression step. After that, you can always use the method enter and then click OK. So once you click OK, you go down and then see correlation metric of regression coefficient. Since we only have two variables here, if we only have two variables, we only have one value. If you have more than one variable, let's say if you have more than two variables, you can see many values here. So here the value for the correlation estimate is negative 0.211. Actually, there is no cutoff point to check the correlation, but as long as it is small, then we can say that there is no multi-corollary exists. So in this case, the value negative 0.211 is relatively small. So we can say that there is no multi-corollary problem between gender and also smoking. Okay, the next one is checking multi-corollary by using standard error. So this can be checked by looking at the standard error values in the variables in the equation. Okay, variables in the equation. So here, what you can do is you can compare the value of the each SE with the regression coefficient. For example, for smoking, the regression coefficient is 1.666 and the SE is 0.439. So when we compare with these two values, there is no, the value is actually small. Okay, so for gender also 0.518 when we compare to 1.912, the difference is also small. So we can say that there is no multi-corollary problem in this analysis. All right. So now next one is the checking interaction. So similar with multi-corollary, interaction can only be checked if you have more than one significant variable. If you only have one significant, you can skip multi-corollary and also interaction. Interaction effect occurs when the effect of one variable depends on the value of another variable. And these interaction terms must be biologically meaningful. The two variables must be biologically meaningful. Since in this case, we only have two significant variables, gender or smoking, we can only come up with one interaction term, gender and also smoking. And then this term must be biologically meaningful, must be, it means that they can be interpreted. All right. For example, let's say we have more than two, gender, smoking, and also age. So it means that in this case, we can do interaction term gender and smoking, gender and age, smoking and age. All right. So in this analysis, first we have to add the interaction term to the model as an independent variable. So once we added the interaction term into the model, see whether the p-value is significant or not. If the p-value of the interaction term is significant, then you can consider to include the term into the model. Alright, but please make sure if you want to add the interaction term, but please make sure the p-values of the other variables are also significant. Okay, so now we are going to check the interaction term, gender, and also smoking. To do this, alright, go to course regression. Okay, select gender or smoking, and then press Ctrl on your keyboard, hold, and then select gender and also smoking, and then click A times B. So now we have created the interaction term, gender, and also smoking. Press hold on your keyboard, okay, and then select gender and smoking, and then click A times B. So now we have added interaction term, and then click OK. So once we click OK, look at the variables in the equation table. Okay, look at the p-value for the interaction term. The p-value for the interaction term found to be not significant because it is more than 0.05. So we have to remove this interaction term from the analysis. If the p-value is significant, then you can consider to add this interaction term into the analysis, but please make sure the other variables are also significant. Okay, now we are going to remove the interaction term. So remove the interaction term from the analysis and then click OK. Okay, I hope you can understand multicollinearity and also interaction. So now we have checked for multicollinearity and also interaction term. There is no multicollinearity found. There is no interaction term found. Now we are going to check model assumption. Okay, for your information, SPSS has limitation in terms of checking model assumptions for survival analysis. But if you have simple data set like this, you only have a few cases, you only have a few variables, you can use SPSS. But if you have a large data set, it involves many variables, potential of I would say assumptions violated, then I would like for you to use another type of software, R or Stata. Okay, but in this case, I only want to show you how to conduct survival analysis by using SPSS. Okay, the first assumption that we need to check is proportional hazard assumption. This is the key assumption when we are dealing with survival analysis. So it means that the effect of each covariate on the hazard is constant over time. So how to check? First, we can use log minus log survival plot or hazard function plot, or we can also use Schoenfeld with Schoenfeld residual, but this one is not available in SPSS. So later I'm going to show you how to plot LML plot and also hazard function plot. And then we can also check linearity for continuous variable. So this one, if your significant predictor variable is a continuous variable, then you have to check for linearity of continuous variable. But in our case, smoking and gender are categorical, so we don't have to check for this one. To check for linearity, we have to use martingale residuals, but this one also not available in SPSS. Okay, here we also have independent of observation. This one you don't have to check. This one is done during the design stage. So it means that each individual survival time is assumed independent from the other's survival time. All right, so now I'm going to check the first assumption, proportional hazard assumption, by using hazard function plot and also log minus log plot, or we call it LML plot. Okay, actually, LML plot is used to check proportional hazard assumption. So hazard function plot, I just want to show you how it's done. But the most important plot here is the LML plot to check for the assumption. Okay, to do this, go to cost regression. Go to cost regression. Okay, now at this stage, we have to reset first. Because sometimes, because we want SPSS to redo, right? So enter time to recovery into time, status of recovery to status, and then define event, enter 1, continue, and then enter gender and smoking into block 1 of 1. And then make sure you go to categorical because both of them are categorical value. Enter these two variables into categorical covariates and then click continue. So after that, all right, so go to plots. And then select hazard and also log minus log plot. Okay, remember I clicked reset just now. If I didn't click reset, SPSS will not be able to recognize the variables here. I don't know what happened, but that's why I click reset. All right. So here we are going to create plot for variable smoking. So remember, for this assumption, the effect of each covariate on the hazard is constant over time. So in our case, we have two significant variables, gender and also smoking. So it means that we have to check the assumption for each variable, smoking and also gender. Okay, here under covariate values plotted at, select smoking and then enter this variable into separate lines for. So it means that we are going to create plot for variable and smoking. And for variable smoking, we are going to create hazard function plot and LML plot. Click continue and click OK. Okay, go down until you see the plots. Okay, the second plot, this is the hazard function plot to see the hazard over time between no smoking and yes smoking. All right, no smoking and yes. Okay, this is the hazard function plot. All right, but the most important plot here is the LML plot. Okay, this is the most important plot. So go down so you can see the LML plot. So this one, SPSS converted the hazard function plot to LML plot to check the proportional hazard assumption. In this case, you can see we have two curves, right? Two curves for no and also yes smoking. So here we have to make sure the curves are parallel to each other. The curves are parallel to each other. If the curves here are parallel, it means that the proportional hazard assumption is met. If the curves are crossing to each other, for example, there is a cross in any time, all right? So it means that the proportional hazard assumption is violated, then you have to use time varying covariate. We call it TVC. So you have to apply it into the analysis. Okay, for your information, I'm not going to cover about TVC in this workshop because to do that it requires more time and also it's a bit tricky to be used in SPSS. All right. So this one for smoking. So now I'm going to create another plot for variable gender. Okay, to do this, go to cost regression and then go to plots and then remove smoking. Okay, remove smoking from separate lines 4 and then enter gender. Okay, enter gender and then click continue and then okay. Okay, go down and then we see we have a hazard function plot. We can see the hazard, okay, the hazard over time, and then look at the LML plot. So look at the ML plot, we have female curve, the blue curve, and male curve. So the LML survival curve for males and females appear to be approximately parallel over time. Okay, parallel curve. There's no crossing between the line, so it means that the proportional hazard assumption is met. So you have to check for each significant predictor variable that you have. So since we have since we have gender and smoking, so we have to create plots for each one and then see whether the assumption is met or not. If it's not met, it's violated, then you have to apply the concept of time varying covariate in the analysis. So now we have checked for the proportional hazard assumption. So remember we have another assumption, which is linearity of continuous variable. Since we don't have continuous significant variable, then we cannot check this variable. And then to do this, we have to use the martingale residual. We have to check by using martingale residual, but this one not available in SPSS. So why we can use SPSS for this kind of data set? First, the assumption is not violated. That's why we can use SPSS. And the second one, we don't have a numerical or continuous significant predictor variable. So that's why we can still proceed with SPSS. So now we are going to run the final model. Go to cost regression. Now we have done checking our assumption. And then we can just click OK. Just use enter method. Okay, look at the variables in the equation, and then we can see that gender and smoking found to be the significant predictors. The p-value or less than 0.001 or less than 0.005. Okay, this is how we present the result for the multiple cause proportional hazard regression. So I would like to suggest for your thesis writing, for your manuscript writing, I would like suggest for you to put simple regression table and multiple regression table side by side, so that your readers can see the difference between simple and also multiple. Because during the simple proportional regression analysis, okay, we included 3 variables, right? Gender, smoking, and also age, but age found not to be significant. So that's why in multiple cohorts, we have only 2 significant variable. So for multiple cohorts proportional hazard regression, we can include regression coefficient, which can be taken from B, adjusted hazard ratio with 95% confidence interval, wall statistic, and also the p-value. All right, the p-value. So you can also put in the assumption that you have checked as the footnote. So how to interpret this? Look at gender. Look at gender, remember we comparing women to men. So compared to women, men had a significantly higher hazard of recovery, okay, with a hazard ratio 6.77. So it means that men recovered more quickly than women after the surgery. Smoking status, we compare with smokers to non-smokers. So smokers had a significantly higher hazard of recovery, hazard ratio more than 1, with hazard ratio 5.9. So it means that smokers recovered faster than non-smokers. Okay, this is easy, right? Okay, so now what happened? Okay, now I have done we have done doing the survival analysis for this data set. This data set is pretty straightforward. It's a very simple data set. But if you have a large data set, okay, when your proportional hazard assumption is violated, then you have to apply time varying covariates, or we call it TVC. So TVC is actually a predictor where the value or effect changes during the follow-up period. Okay, so if the effect of the covariate changes with time, so it means that the pH assumption is violated. Because in order for the pH assumption is met, we want to make sure the hazard is constant over time. But if it's not constant, it's not consistent, the value of the hazard, so it means that the pH assumption is violated, then you have to apply the concept of time varying covariate TBC in the cost model. So it means that you are going to add the interaction term between the covariate and also TVC in the model, and then see whether it is significant or not significant. Okay. For the pH assumption to be met, when you look at the LML plot, the hazard ratio parallel over time. But if it's violated, there is a time varying effect, the hazard ratio lines will converge, will diverge, or cross over time. So in that case, you have to apply time varying covariate. Key example, just to give you example, what's the difference between without TVC or with TVC. Okay, let's say you are studying a recovery after oral surgery. Okay, without TVC, the hazard ratio for the gender is 1.5. So this effect always constant throughout the follow-up period. So male is always having higher hazard of recovery compared to women, okay, throughout the follow-up. So that one, we call it without time varying covariate. It's always constant, the value. But with time varying covariate, the value of the HR change. For example, for the painkiller use, in the early stage, the hazard ratio is strong, 0.5. But after 3 weeks, the hazard ratio is 1. So it means that it has changes in terms of hazard ratio. So in this case, you have to apply the concept of time varying covariate, TVC, or we call it TVC. Okay, for your information, SPSS has limitation in terms of checking, the assumption, the model assumption for the survival analysis. It is widely used for course regression for any kind of analysis, but the thing is, SPSS don't have any built-in test to check for a proportional hazard assumption. For example, Schoenfeld, martingale, deviance residual, Cox-Snell, okay, and so on. So actually, we have many assumptions to check in survival analysis, but it cannot be done in SPSS. So if your data set require you this kind of method, okay, this kind of method, I want you to use either R, Stata, or maybe you can also use SAS to do the advanced diagnostic checking to check the model assumption. So since we only have a limited time of conducting this workshop, so I cannot explain too much about the TVC, and then also about TVC, and also how to include the TVC into the model and how to interpret it. Or maybe in future, I will be able to conduct survival analysis by using R or Stata, or maybe I can show you how to do proper diagnostic testing for survival analysis. So I think that's all for today. So do you have any question? You can PM me your question.
The session is open for Q&A. Is there any question from the participant side? You may ask now. If If there is any questions from the participant side, you may raise your hands now.
So far, I don't receive any messages in my private message.
Any questions from the participant side? Please raise your hands.
So I think that's all from me. Thank you so much for joining this session, and also thank you so much for attending this. So if you have any trouble doing survival analysis, I would like for you to go through the lecture note all over again, and I already provided step by step of doing it in SPSS. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you for this wonderful session.